Well, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a review of a 2021 Chevy Silverado. So I don't post a lot of videos. I don't post a lot of reviews on vehicles. The reason for that is if you drive a car for a day or two or a month even, you can't get the full experience. You can't figure out all the goods and bads. Any new vehicle, great, you'll see all the really neat things right away, and you might see some of the really bad things immediately. But I personally feel that for you to be able to review a car properly, you have to have driven it, say, 5, 10, 15,000 kilometers. So I usually wait until I've done a certain amount of driving on a vehicle before I proceed with the review. So in this case, we picked up this, it was a brand new lease that we picked up on a 2021 Chevy Silverado. We've driven it now for nearly 2 years, about 17,000 kilometers, so I figured it's time to do the review, so why not, and let's get started. And welcome to T-Wars Garage, and in today's video we're going to be doing a review of a 2021 Chevy Silverado Custom with a 5.3 liter V8, a 6-speed automatic. It's 4x4 with auto locking rear differential and a few other small goodies, but it's a relatively bare bone truck. No fancy options and features really, and we'll go over why I have it, why it's a good buy, and what to look forward if you're ever shopping for one. So stay tuned and let's get to it. Styling wise, I find the front, especially on these custom and work trucks, like the custom, you can actually do the nice color match the bumper to the body. So that's what we have here, and with the big Chevrolet across the front, it does look a bit, at least in my opinion, like a Tonka truck. If you do have little kids, I would recommend putting it on a set of running boards just to help with the kids getting in and out, because it can be quite a step. So an adult getting in, it's not a big deal. Kids, they do always climb, and being that we're here in Canada where there's a lot of slush and snow, it's a nice place for them to come clean off their boots before they go in. That way you don't get all the snow in the car, you just get some of it. Not a bad sounding door closing. So no German car, but surprisingly enough, they do sound solid. And for those who didn't know, so any part of the truck, so the doors, the hood, the tailgate, they're all made out of aluminum. So no need to worry about that rusting like it did in the past. As you can see inside my tailgate, my truck bed. So this is the smallest of the options for the bed, since the truck is a full crew cab, as you can see. So it's the shortest bed, but for everyday use it's still pretty good. You can put in a 4x sheet of drywall or plywood with the tailgate open. And one nice thing that they have is they have the tailgate that's actually quite light to close, because it has the assist, including a remote tailgate release that does open your tailgate slowly. So as you can see here, so unassisted, the tailgate is slowly opening down, so it does have those springs for easy release. Comes in handy when grabbing groceries at Costco. A convenient nifty feature they have is the wide angle lens on their rear view mirror here, so it does help you see quite a bit. And they are actually quite wide mirrors, so not towing mirrors, but I'm not sure why you would need anything wider than that for towing unless you have a really big trailer. Another interesting thing that I find, especially on the relatively low custom model, is that the rear taillights are full LED. The downside with that is if it burns out, you can't replace the bulb, you have to replace the entire unit, unfortunately. So as mentioned, they all come with the hitch, and the trailer package is an option with the brake controller, but it does come with both the 4-pin and the large round connector. I believe it's what, 2, 4, 7-pin, right? So your stuff is essentially pre-wired, so it is easy to tow. I have discovered though, because of the placement of the plug, some trailers you'll actually get an extension, because it is quite a distance away where than traditionally would be mounted here in most vehicles. The nice part is the attachment for the safety chains. There's actually quite a few of them, so you can either hook it up here, or on the back side here there's slots. So you do have the ability to hook up the chains whichever way works best for your trailer. I did have a vehicle, Volkswagen Touareg, where most clips, it was a single one, and it was a really thick one. So I had issues with certain clips were too small to clip onto it, where this one works quite well. So as you can see here, maximum towing capacity on these, I'm not sure if you can see, it's 9,200 pounds with, I believe it's on the hitch itself, so it's 950 pounds. Tongue weight 1,380 pounds, but 9,200 pounds towing capacity, so it is a relatively big heavy truck. It's no diesel, but with the V8 it does tow quite nicely. So since we do have the full trailer package, so it does have the trailer control as well as the trailer brake control down here. When you do turn that wheel, it will show you on your instrument cluster that you are towing a trailer there on the bottom. Speaking of this instrument cluster, I did discover a couple of times, not often, but it does happen on occasion, that the compass will be off. It won't show me what mode is in, whether it's two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. So upon startup, I'll just get the mileage on the bottom and the gear. So I'm guessing it's a bug in the system that I'm not sure if anybody reported or discovered, but I've noticed it a couple of times now. Under the hood, you'll find a 5.3 liter V8. Made it to a 6-speed automatic transmission, and being that this is one of the ones during the chip shortage, there is no cylinder deactivation, so less things to go wrong. And also with the 6-speed automatic, you don't get the same flaws that the 8 and the 10-speed had. To a point, if I'm not mistaken, one of them was actually discontinued for a period of time until they sorted those issues out. It was so-called a design flaw and not a manufacturing defect, whereas this one has the old style 6-speed, which still gets decent gas mileage. On the highway, I believe I averaged just over 11 liters to 100 kilometers, and in the city it's about 15 liters to 100 kilometers, so not bad at all for gas consumption, even though it's a V8 with only a 6-speed automatic. And back here we'll see the nice little tailgate with the Chevy emblem, backup camera, and light for the rear as well. There's also a nice aero looking spoiler up here on the Customs. And here we have the winter tire package on right now, but typically it comes with 20-inch alloy wheels, running boards, and we have a roll-up tonneau cover here. On the inside of this Chevy, you'll find a bench seat across the front. This fits 3 passengers comfortably. A center head unit with the backup camera, Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay. A semi-automatic climate control. So essentially what it does is, if you put on defrost, it'll adjust the temperature automatically. If you remote start the car, it'll put AC or cool automatically. But for the most part, it's just your standard hot cold air. From the features in here, tailgate release, traction control, also known as the fun button. There's a 12-volt outlet here. I have a USB slot in there. There's 2 USB slots for CarPlay and Android Auto. Integrated brake controller, so that's a nice little extra on it. A very simple gauge cluster with a black and white center display, but it tells you everything you need to know: your battery voltage, oil pressure, coolant temperature, gas. And then on this side, because this is the 4x4 model and it does have the trailer controls, you have the automatic transfer case, so 2-wheel high, 4-wheel high, and well, so-called 4x4 low or off-road, automatic headlight control, rear tailgate lights. On the steering wheel here we have just simple cruise control, no fancy audio controls, no blind spot monitoring, no heated steering wheel. Up here, just like every other Chevy product, OnStar, rear view mirror, and an all-right set of seats in the front with some storage compartment under here. And on the newer models, I believe some of them also have storage compartment here, but you can see it's got a 3-point seat belt for the middle passenger. which some trucks still don't offer. Ram Classic, for example. But for the most part, any vehicle with the 3-seat across the front will have a 3-point seat, such as the F-150, GMC Sierra, and others. In the back, there's quite a bit of space. We got 2 booster seats, car seat, and the nice part is nothing has to touch another one, so kids are happy and spaced apart. You do get rear vents, no individual climate control, but you do get rear vents. And in our case, we have the protecting rubber mats, power windows, another set of cup holders for the back and the doors. No opening rear glass on this one, so this is a fixed unit glass, less things to leak. Not a bad space to spend a few hours, as we've taken numerous trips where the kids have been in here for over 12 hours in one piece with no complaints. It does have an old school key with the fob. There's no push button start, so just like you would 20 years ago, you insert the key, turn it, and there it goes. So because we're running on winter tires without the pressure sensors, of course you get the message. The annoying part is, being that it's the base model with no steering wheel audio controls or cluster controls, you have to reach in every time to shut that message off. As you can see, most of the time I do run it in 2-wheel drive mode, and that's what you would use most of the time. It does have the ability to do, so it'll do the 4 auto or 4 high. 4 auto, if you don't ever worry about it, you can put it on, but if you want to save on gas, run 2-wheel drive, and 4-wheel drive just when needed. Down here you'll find the typical power windows controls, power mirrors, power locks. It does have automatic lights, the buttons to dim and brighten your dash. It is unfortunately an electronic parking brake, but for the most part everything else is straight up. There, show you the backup camera. So it does show you the lines where the truck should go, but if you do turn your steering wheel, the lines do not move. And with the backup camera, you do have the option, if you're towing a trailer, it will give you the line as to where to line up your trailer tank. And on here, I'm not sure if you can see, so there is the red portion of the lines. So those indicate once your tailgate is open, how far it will open out. Unfortunately, I have discovered that the orange lines, which are supposed to outline where the truck will be, does not always do the job. So you can see when you turn it, it will turn the lines. Not always. I'm not sure if it's a glitch in the firmware, but even with the lines turned, once you're backing up, you will not follow that same line. So just because your line clears a vehicle or a curb, your truck will probably clip it. On the back here, it has the so-called HDMI exhaust, HDMI 1 and 2, and let's go fire it up and see what it sounds like. One nice thing that the Customs come with is so a nice feature with the Customs, it actually does come with a remote start, which is quite nice for a bare bone truck. Open that up here. And as you can see, because of remote start of the power, while it's cold, even though this is off, it is blowing high heat. The second you put your key in to start the truck, that will come down. So that's my average gas consumption, 14.9 liters to 100 kilometers, relatively almost all city driving. And it does sound quite nice from in here, being a V8. I won't rev it too much since it is still a relatively cold engine, but no 2.7 turbo will make that sound, unfortunately, as mentioned here. So there's a nice AM/FM CD radio. It's all touchscreen. It does come with satellite radio, Bluetooth. I'll go over here. So you can see it's got Android Auto. You can do trailer light checking, So if you have a trailer, you can do Apple CarPlay. So this is nice, whereas once you connect your trailer, you can actually go through here and it'll do a full sequence. So you can check your lights rather than having somebody press the brake, do this, do that. You start the sequence, you can go yourself and check it. See the backup camera here. It's actually quite nice. And you can either control it for where your vehicle is or to line it up with your trailer. Handy feature to have. It does have go back to the menu here. So you do have onboard Wi-Fi you can set up. Of course you have to pay for it, including some of the OnStar services. But aside from that, relatively bare bones, but it does what you need it to do and nothing more, which is ideal, which is most likely what everybody wants a truck for, right? So this is the 6-speed transmission. You can shift here for the manual shift. All your wiper controls are on one stock, including to spray the windshield, intermittent wipers. So as you can see, gas consumption is not too bad. And you do have a simple menu that you can go through, but you have to use this guy here since it's not equipped with serial controls. Oil life, air filter, brake pads, transmission temperature, trailer brake controls, and in this case I got 409 hours on it. Now for one issue that I have with, sorry, I don't have an issue, it's fine. It's with all these newer vehicles that have the nice big infotainment screens, that's all wonderful for today. But for somebody who plans to keep the vehicle for say 15-20 years, so if you got a truck say 10 years ago, it wouldn't be an issue for you, but you would be able to replace your head unit and not have any issues. Unfortunately, in most modern cars, this one included, because you have certain features of the vehicle that are controlled through the infotainment unit, that cannot be done. So say if you go into the settings, and we'll go down here to preferences, vehicle settings. So rear seat reminder, so it does remind you, you can turn the setting on. If you have kids in the back, anytime you open the door in the back, once you shut the vehicle off, it'll remind you, oh, you might have somebody in the back. Same thing with the lighting, so if you want to, the exit lights, depending on the duration, how long you want them, you would control it in here. So you can't replace the head unit because you lose certain functionalities. I'm not even sure if the vehicle would run. So remote lock and unlock and start, that's all controlled from here. One neat feature that is in here, it's the remote window operation. So if you enable that, you can actually open your windows remotely. So I'll shut the vehicle off and we'll pretend we've left. So open and close the door. So your vehicle is locked. And again, not sure if everybody knows this, but if you press it once to unlock it and then press it one more time to hold the button and keep holding it down, the unlock button, all 4 windows will open. So it comes in really handy in the summertime. So if it's really hot, you can remote start your car and open the window, so that way all the hot air gets out before, it cools it off a lot quicker. So it is a neat feature to have the ability to do that. One thing I'm not crazy about is the driver's window is auto up, none of the others are. It'd be nice if they would have a setting in here that you can possibly enable or disable all of them to be automatic or not. But yeah, so that's the downside of all new vehicles with these infotainment systems, is you can't replace it in 5 or 10 years if there's new technologies that come out. You're stuck with what you bought for the remainder of your vehicle's life. Another fun fact is the 12-volt outlet here. So I have a USB charger in here. By default, the outlet is always on. So even if you shut the vehicle off, the outlet stays on. But on the passenger side, there's a relay or a fuse relay combo box that essentially just moves from one position over one slot. So it's got 3 pins, but it's a 2-pin fuse. So depending where you put it, it'll be either ignition controlled or always on. So because I have a dash camera installed, I don't want it always running. So in this case, when I shut my vehicle off, that plug goes out and shuts the camera off as soon as you open the door. So let's go for a little ride. See how it goes. The cabin does feel very spacious, very big. It sits 5 people very comfortably. The 6th person in the front middle does get a 3-point seatbelt harness, so it's not just a lap belt. But when it comes to the comfort for that seat, it is a little firm, so I wouldn't recommend a super long trip. But we did have one of our kids in here for about 12 hours in one piece, and she did survive, so it's doable. When it comes to the ride quality is pretty good for what's a pickup. It's I'll say, if I'm not mistaken, the Rams have a nicer setup for the suspension, so they don't feel as trucky. This does feel like a truck. Again, you are driving a pickup, so it should feel like a truck and not anything else. One neat feature that it has, it's the stability control button, which I also refer to as the front button. So when you press it once, it'll turn your traction off, so you can, I'll say, have fun with the wheels all you want. But I'll say a small Easter egg or small fun fact is if you press and hold that button for, I believe it's like 7 or 8 seconds, so I'm just pressing it here, holding it, it'll actually turn the stability control completely off. And well, let's see what happens then. So we've just shut off all stability control. So when you turn the traction control off, it'll just let the rear wheel spin. But if you go into a corner too fast, it'll still correct you. Whereas when you have the stability control off, and let's see, in this case, if I press the gas, it will spin completely and it will not try to help you out. So press and hold that button, shut all the systems off, have all the fun you want. You do still have ABS. I have not found a way to turn the ABS off. Not sure why you'd want to do that. But having everything shut off does give you the ability, say in a on a tight street, you can do a U-turn quite easily, especially if it's snow covered. Leave it in rear wheel drive, shut everything off, turn the wheel a little, floor it, and it will spin on ice with no issues and no complaints. So that's why my kids and I refer to it as the fun button. We're going to merge here to a little road. You can hear what it sounds like from inside. And I get cut off. But overall, I'll say there's a reason why I chose this truck. Aside from the price, which is very, very attractive, the custom trim, especially for 2021, didn't offer certain things that, in my opinion, if you want a truck to last, say, 200,000-300,000 kilometers, you probably don't want these things. So I don't have start and stop on here, so it will save you there. So one less thing to go wrong. It does have a 6-speed automatic, so there's certain issues, especially with the GM's 8 and 10 speeds. I know they're trying to work that out. I'm not sure if it's resolved, but the 6 speeds they've used for quite some time. They've worked out most of the issues. So the transmission should hold up. The 5.3 liter is a very good engine. It's, I want to say, almost bulletproof if you take away the cylinder deactivation, the active fuel management, which neither are optioned on this one due to our fabulous chip shortage. And so no cylinder deactivation, no start stop, no active fuel management, and you get the 6-speed. So it's a very bare bone, simple design. I would say tested and used for quite a number of years, so it should keep running. And being that all the bugs are worked out, providing you don't have any of the lifter issue noises, you should be quite happy with the truck like this for quite some time. Now for the heat and the AC in the truck, I do have to say they are quite good. My guess is they're probably using the same system they have in the Suburbans, so to be able to cool off that big SUV, they're probably using the same type of setup in here. And it does very effectively heat up or cool down the cabin, so kudos to that. Keeping the windows defrosted, it's not the best. It's all right. The front windshield, it will defrost quite quickly, The side windows are so-so. However, the rear windows, not the rear window, but the rear door windows, yeah, I would say I've had at times when they were fogged up and there was no vents there to defrost that. My rear windshield, it does have the defrost line, so it does defrost that windshield quite nicely and effectively as well. And I've never had a truck before this. It is nice not to have that window be always dirty like it would in a sedan or an SUV, where you get the road grime always spraying up. Being that it's a truck and you have a lot of space between the back of the vehicle and that window, that glass stays clean pretty much all the time. So some of the things I'm not crazy about in this truck would be the very cheap plastics on the door. Granted, the higher up models you can get stuff that's covered in leather. One thing I'm not sure why GM did was, on the previous generation, there used to be a nice compartment storage here. Granted, here it's just a big hollow open space. So it would be nice to have that storage back where you can put your cell phone or wallet, rather than keeping it up here or in the bottom compartments. And the same thing goes on the passenger side as well as the rear. The next downside that I'd like to point out and is, I'll say it's a good and a bad thing. The good part is the rear differential is auto locking, so it's an open diff normally when you're driving. If it picks up quite a bit of spin in one wheel, it will lock it. However, to unlock it, you have to get to, say, I don't know, 40-50 kilometers an hour before it self unlocks. The downside with that is, say in a parking lot, you're on an icy parking lot, or whatever the case might be, you're doing a 3-point turnaround or U-turn, one of your wheels spins a little, your differential locks, and until you essentially get to going faster, if you're trying to make a left or right, it's going to start binding and, well, essentially your truck starts hopping. One thing I am surprised for 2021, this thing still has a old school whip antenna, so it just makes it annoying cleaning the snow. And I'm not sure why they would have that, because it does have the, I would say, the shark fin. So for this day and age, they could have incorporated everything to one antenna rather than using an old school whip for I'm not sure what reason. So that brings this video of the review of my 2020 Silverado to an end. If you'd like the video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and stay posted for more videos to come.